Welcome to the Rockman Power Hour. I'm really, really happy to have a gentleman whose music I really, really enjoy, whose career I followed for a while, and this project, Flat Black, is just phenomenal. Being someone who loves smart songwriting, who loves somebody that's not afraid to go after radio rock and really grab it by the balls and not let go. This is the guy that's going to deliver that in spades. Jason Hook, thank you for joining us today on the podcast.
My pleasure. What an intro.
Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour, a podcast where we talk to the most interesting people in the world of pop culture and everything in between. Ryan, my co-host, let's bring you in right away because I want to talk to you all about this week's guest. Ryan, I know that you are familiar with Five Finger Death Punch. We had the bass player of Five Finger Death Punch on the show before. We're fans of the band, and there was a point when they had a guitar player named Jason Hook. Jason, very talented guitar player, kind of went off on his own, was doing his own little thing, and then started this band called Flat Black. They're going to be hitting the road in the fall, and we have Jason Hook on the show this week. Are you excited?
I'm so excited that I put on glasses. No, I literally, for the viewers, just if they were wondering why the hell I was all of a sudden wearing glasses. No, I'm very excited, and I'm, as much as Five Finger Death Punch are cool, and as much as Jason is a great guitar player, I am an even bigger fan of him as a film producer, and he produced an incredible documentary called Hired Gun that I'm obsessed with, and we talk about it in this interview. It's great.
Yeah, he was a really interesting guy. We did this a little while back in anticipation of this release in the fall. So we're if you're seeing this, we did this interview probably about almost a month ago because we got a time with Jason. We wanted to make sure we jumped on it. I love this chat because he's in his studio. He's talking all about music. He's talking about tone, guitar tone. We got to talk about, again, his film productions chops because he's got some great ones, and he has worked in the film space and he's done some really interesting stuff. He's had a really interesting career so far, and I think it's only going to go up and up and up. So let's dive into this right away. But before we do that, Ryan, we got to thank our sponsor, Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour, and use our promo code Rockman20. Get 20% off your entire order, and you can use that promo code as much as you like. Ryan, I recently went to the Lamb of God and Mastodon show. And I brought a bunch of Heartbeat Hot Sauce with me backstage. And dude, let me tell you something. I was giving this out to the bands and to the crew, and they were so excited to be getting this stuff.
You're like a high roller instead of like throwing out Benjamins. It was Heartbeat Hot Sauce bottles, and they're like, fuck Benjamins.
I was doing this. Yeah. Brent, the guitar player, Brent Hines, the last time I brought Heartbeat, they had, I think, 7 different bottles on the tour bus, and they were, he was cracking them all open, and he was trying, he had some fries, and he was putting a little bit of each one on a different French fry to try them all. So when I brought him a 6-pack, I said, "Hey man, I brought some more hot sauce." He was like, "Yeah, I love this shit." Cracking it open.
Nice.
It was great to see. Also, thanks to our friends over at Studio House Designs, who always help us with some incredible t-shirts. I love this one, Ichi the Killer, which is a great movie if you haven't seen this yet. And they've got some great stuff that they are constantly dropping over at studiohousedesigns.com. So go check them out. Okay, Ryan, let's do this. Jason Hook, great guitar player, has a solo band called Flat Black. It is literally a
actually not a solo band. He very clear. This is a band. This isn't Jason Hook.
This is a band. You're right.
Yeah.
It's not a solo band. So thank you for correcting me on that, because it's true. And he does say that. And a lot of people go, "Oh, it's a solo band." No, it's a band, and it's a band, and it's clearly a band. And you can see when you listen to the music that it sounds like a band. It's recorded like a band, and I think you guys are going to love this. So without any further ado, Ryan, let's jump into it. Our chat with Jason Hook of Flat Black. being someone who does come from a music background, knows what it takes to write stuff to get played on the radio, but at the same time understands smart songwriting and appreciates it. You really do have it in spades, man. And the stuff that I listen to from this record that's coming out is just really, really strong. And I first want to ask you, I know Jason Hook, but hooks are obviously important for you because I mean they are everywhere. Not only in the vocals, which are always apparent and usually the most recognizable for every normal human, but in the riffs, in the drums, everything has a hook. Whether it be the syncopated beats, whether it be, it's just very, very hooky everywhere. How important is that to you?
Well, it's very important, but it's authentic. It's not
Right.
contrived.
No, not at all. And you feel that.
I've been practicing this stuff for a very long time, and I really understand the listener's perspective. I think maybe that's the only way I can explain it. I'm very flattered that you're picking up on all this stuff because it's not something I would verbalize,
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
there are, I grew up with big bands. I was fans of big bands, Kiss and Journey and
Yeah.
Foreigner.
Yeah.
And so it was an analog era where things were simple, strict, because they had to be written and performed in front of people. That was the only medium, and so I really did a lot of my studying from the greats, and I came up with a theory on songs.
Okay.
And my theory is that there are maybe 4 or 5 connective elements that you can include in a song. And the more of those connective elements you can get going in that song, the more likelihood it will be an important song or everyone will get it. And
Mhm.
so what are those connective elements, right? So a good beat.
Yeah.
I think it's primitive. I think all human beings just want to sing and dance. You go to an AC/DC concert, people got their beer and they're like, "Ew, took
Yeah.
me all night." It's very there's something about that
Yeah.
you can't lose that. They like to sing and dance. Your listener is invested in a very shallow level. So too much data over the head.
Right.
And then going back to the connective elements, a very poignant, strong, meaningful, relatable lyric.
Yeah.
That can be a connective element. I mean, Alanis Morissette's entire record was a strong connective element.
100%.
Performances, right? Like we talk about Eddie Van Halen or Dimebag Darrell, like we're talking about performances that blow your mind.
Right.
Right? Not every album will have that, but sometimes good performances. Like, I watched the Celine Dion documentary the other night, and just
Yeah.
her performances are like, God,
Yeah. Yeah. It's mind numbing.
you don't have to love her, but she is bionic.
Oh, she's incredible. Yeah.
Incredible. And just singing in the room. Forget
Yeah.
about what happens on the like there's a performance aspect to that. So, and then, melody is really important. Performances, a good beat, a good lyric. Those are all the elements. If you can get all those happening in one song, then we start to get into the territory that you had mentioned where it sticks to you like tar.
Exactly.
You want to hear it again. That's the secret. Do I want to go back and listen to it twice? That's an art form.
Will you remember it? Will you remember it when you're not even thinking? I think that's the key to a riff. Not like, what was that song and how did it go? It's just when everything stops and you have that desert island clarity, all of a sudden, there it is.
Yeah,
And once it's
so
there,
funny.
it never leaves.
It's so funny to me because guys go, dude, check out this riff. It's so check out this band. It's so fucking nasty.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, I'd be like, what? Well, how's the chorus of that song go? And they're like,
Mhm.
well, I don't know, but the riff was nasty. It's not enough,
So this is the thing where you get people, and I'm sure you have moments and you have bands where it's just about that. Like you just want to nerd out and you're like, okay, I want to go listen to, Animals as Leaders, and I just want to be lost in their crazy playing. But
Mm.
there's something to be said about humming a song and wanting to hear it again. Like if I put on Remedy from Black Crows, I'm transported to that moment when I
Right.
first heard that song, and I want to hear that fucking song again. And no matter, I worked in radio for 14 years, and every time that song would come on and I would be playing it, and I would, front sell it and then back sell it, the speakers in the studio were peaked, and I was dancing in the studio to that song, and I had played that song thousands of times. So there's something to be said about those songs that you do want to hear over and over again.
Oh yeah. Well, that's my wheelhouse. I could sit here and tell you that I'm into progressive death metal, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. And
Yeah.
the most progressive thing I ever liked was like Rush.
Right.
But they were again really incredible on the performances.
Mhm.
Right. And things are so different now. People start songwriting by going to the computer going, and I'm like, hold on, fucking stop.
Yeah.
The fucking, you got to have something primitive. I mean, too much data,
Yeah.
right over
No.
there. So I have very strong opinions on how all this stuff works, and I don't expect anyone to subscribe to my point of view. I just get a chance in Flat Black to do what I like, and that's kind of it, really.
You know what? There's a big difference. Like, when we see a science fiction movie and there's an android or there's a special effect, and we know it's a
Yeah.
special effect. It's not an actor. That is an animatronic. I think the same thing happens with music. I think
Right.
when it's too processed and when it's too fake and there's no real drums, we know. And
Right.
there's a little part of our brain that kind of detaches because we're like, well, it's not the real thing.
Well, this is another element to Flat Black that I wanted to try to bring back, is something that had real heart. It's all live drums. The Rob, our drummer, is a really good musician, and it would be a travesty to not record him. And so, I find, like, I don't know, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody that's doing anything ever.
Of
But
course.
I'm starting to lose the connection to modern music. It looks like some producer made the band a record, like
Yeah.
with a mouse,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
I'm not, I can't, it doesn't affect me. There's tons of synths layered, software layered, the guitar's pushed in the back, the vocals are super processed, super tuned, I mean, I don't know. No solos. I mean, it's like, I kind of wanted to try to bring back the spirit of like a Pantera or a Van Halen, even.
Absolutely. And it's, that I couldn't agree with you more. A lot of that is just lost. And like you're saying, like somebody starts off with like, um, programming a drum beat, like you're programming a drum beat. Like to me that, maybe it's my age, but it just doesn't make sense. And
Mm.
pull out a fucking acoustic guitar and write a song on it. And
Yeah.
if
Right.
it can be played on an acoustic guitar, I've always, no matter what song,
100%.
if it's a good song, you can play it on an acoustic guitar or on a piano.
100%. That's the test. That's actually a great test.
Yeah.
And like, one of the things I wanted to try to do with this band is there's a guitar part that can stand all the way through. So there's never going to be a verse where software's playing and we're just waiting for that so we can come back in. Like, there should be a guitar part that can be played top to bottom. If you strip everything else away, I can play that song top to bottom.
Right.
Of course. And what you were saying before about just branching out and also just, bringing it all back. We're in a position in music right now where there's this AI software going around and it's making all this stuff. But I think people who have grown up with music prior to all this existing, there's a frequency in our brains that we can hear when it's a real person playing. We hear a mistake. We want a mistake. I cannot imagine listening to all the punk records I love from the 70s and 80s if it was all perfect. I mean, the imperfections is what gives it its heart. Is it, as a modern player, considering you are a fucking amazing guitar player and but you're a human being, and I'm sure you make mistakes every now and then. Is there ever a recording where there's a mistake and you're like, it stays in?
Oh yeah.
This is
Oh yeah.
just the universe reaching out and saying, let that bend. Let it happen.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. There's a time where it's cool and there's a time where it's not cool.
Okay.
Like if I'm playing an F over the bass player playing an E or something, that's not going to work. But if
Mhm.
I am I a little lazy on the solo and it's not perfectly on time, or whatever? That's intentional.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if I hit a little clam and that seems to have some kind of magic, it's fine. I mean, I'm confident enough with my own ability where it can have rough edges and I still think it has some kind of magic. And I'm not saying that because, hey, it's me. I'm just saying that I'm looking for something. I'm trying to, I really wanted to try to create something that's different. You know, I'm like, I think we're getting into that Xerox thing where we're starting to get more and more watered down copies of what's already happening. We don't need another Bad Omens. We don't need another, you know, like it's just becoming worse and worse Xeroxes of that.
Yeah.
Nothing against Bad Omens, great.
No,
But young
but
bands are like, I have a laptop, let's do that.
it's funny because you're going out with Godsmack.
Yeah.
Godsmack are, you know, to me, out of the modern rock bands, they were one of the first ones out of, I guess, in the newer era of rock bands, like late 90s, early 2000s, when Pro Tools started becoming a little bit more prevalent. But one of the first bands that like really had one guy doing everything. You know, I mean, Sully was the man on that record, especially on that first one. Like he did fucking everything. He put that band on the map. He was he was a huge success story when that first record came out. And I remember that being so cool. Like, you know, it's kind of like when you watch Paranormal Activity and you're like, that movie was made for maybe, I don't know, $30,000-$40,000 and ended up becoming a franchise of 9 movies. Like Godsmack had that, you know, that aesthetic where it was like, you knew that the guy was kind of like a prince of rock and roll, of you know, of the rock band. Like he could go and pick anybody's instrument up and do it. Including the fucking drums, because it's this phenomenal drummer. Going out with a band like that who seem to be in the same kind of place where they're able to get across what they want and do it the way you kind of seem like you want to do it. Is it a nice fit for you to go out with a band that has that same kind of like,
it's an awesome fit.
Right. That's what I mean. It is a great fit.
The Sully Erna is a force. Make no mistake. That guy he's a freight train, you know, like he's making it no matter what. You're either on board or in the way.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because when he does play drums, and he does do it, you know, he does it from time to time live, and you know, it'll pop up. But he is a great drummer, and but man, fucking Larkin is a beast.
The two of them together, you've seen the little bit they do where they like a 15-minute trade-off. It's magic.
That's got to be fun for you, just as a music fan, to say, "Fuck shit." When my set's done, I get to go watch that every night.
I really became a brand new Godsmack fan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being able to watch them. They built that whole moment. They built several moments actually in the show, and he's a masterful leader on stage. The way he communicates with the crowd and picks up stuff randomly and keeps it fresh. I mean, he's a veteran, no question. And I'll plug his movie. If anyone hasn't seen the Sully Erna story,
no, never.
I highly encourage you to go watch it.
Okay, we got to look for that. I didn't even know that.
Is it streaming on like a big streamer, or is it like
it's not hard to find. It's either Hulu or Amazon. I can't remember where we saw it, but it's a shocking story. And you know, I already had such a great admiration for the guy, but after I watched that, I texted him and said, "Dude, this fucking movie, man."
Yeah.
What the hell?
We've had Shannon on the podcast, and you know, not only being a fan of Godsmack, but being a fan of Wrathchild America, and then obviously that ill-fated band that was one of the best bands ever. Amen. Yeah. I don't know if do you remember Amen?
Barely.
It was a flash in the pan. They had the singer Casey Chaos, Sonny Mayo, who played in several bands, was the guitar player, and it was just a magic moment of like this crazy band that was signed to Roadrunner in like 2000 when new metal was happening.
And is this Sully on drums, or is this one of Shannon's early bands?
This was one of Shannon's early things.
So before Wrathchild. Okay.
Right. No, after. Right before he joined Godsmack.
Okay.
So I think one of the reasons why so many people were happy for Larkin was because he really, really, really like slugged it out in so many bands. So when he finally got Godsmack, it felt like the guy got his golden ticket, and he deserved it because, you know, they took good care of him, and they still do.
Oh yeah. Sully fell in love with his playing. It explains it so well in Sully's movie.
I got to watch it. Yeah.
He was Sully wanted to be like the best guy in town, and when he moved down to whatever region Shannon lived, then he started going to the bars, and he saw Shannon, and he was like, "Holy crap,
I'm not the best guy in town anymore.
this guy, this guy!" But he came back and got him, which is so good.
I love that. I love that. So for you, being being someone who's a veteran of the business, you've been around the block, you've seen a lot, you've done a lot. Do you want to kind of do the same thing for your band members? Do you want to be able to?
Oh yeah, I was very particular about making this a band. I for a very long time, people were like, "Dude, you got to call it Hook. It's right. It's a given." And I'm like, "I'm not calling it Hook. It's not Jason and Friends. It's
Yeah.
Flat Black. I got Rob, Wes, Nick, and myself, and each one of us are equally as important, and each one holds down their role just as well as and the next guy. So maybe I'm delusional, but I kind of wanted to bring back something that reminded me of a Pantera or a Van Halen, where
Sure. Yeah.
everyone, the public will hopefully gravitate to their favorite member for whatever reason. Nick, Nick, the bass player, he's an incredible singer. He's got a lead vocal that's just amazing. So when I was like, okay, so I put you with Rex, and then I've got, I sing too, but it's more like shower singing.
Yeah.
But the three of us can sing harmonies, right? That's not something you really hear anymore.
No.
Well,
So
you hear a lot of pre-recorded track harmonies, but do you hear people actually singing harmonies? Yeah.
We get it when we're playing live. The three of us will step up to the mic and sing full volume, confident harmonies, and people are like, "Holy crap!" It's just what I used to do in the club days with my bands. It's just nobody really does that anymore. It's not the trend, or I don't know.
There's an Eagles documentary that it's like 5 hours long, but it literally starts off with like all four of them singing harmony backstage, warming up, just to be like, "Hey, wow!" So before the movie even starts, you're like, "Wow!"
And seeing it is kind of like, "Oh my god, it's magic!"
Yeah,
just in the room, right? It has magic, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. So tell me a bit about the song "Nothing to Some." Obviously, speaking of fucking solid singers, that dude's a fucking solid singer. Also a friend of the show's. I mean, Corey's got so many sides to him that are so they're magic. I mean, that guy's magic. When he gets on stage, he's magic. He has that thing. He has the thing that Phil has. He has the thing that Ozzy has. Like, they just command the stage when they're out there. When you have him recording, were you able to do it in your studio? Because I imagine that's where you recorded, right? Where you are right now.
Part of it he did without me, and then we finished it together.
And was it nice to actually to be in the same room together?
Come on, it's like, do you want to skate with Gretzky for the day?
I love it. I love it. I love it.
You want to shoot baskets with fucking Jordan? Like, who are we kidding? I'm such a great admirer of the guy, and like I said on a few other interviews, I never thought having him involved, I would be answering this question about this so many times. And but here's the net is, the guy really offered to help me out. So we started a dialogue in 2020. I was working with his producer in Los Angeles, and somehow there's a text message that starts, right? I didn't even really know Corey that well.
Okay.
And all of a sudden we're hitting it off, and he's like, "Listen, what are your plans?" I said, I'm going to put something together. I'm just at the very beginning. I don't have any band. I don't have anyone to work with. I'm just starting to work on tracks, And he goes, "Well, listen, send me whatever you got, and I'll help you. I'll help you write and finish these songs." So, like, right out of the gate, it really lifted my spirit,
Yeah.
Like now I'm excited because, fucking Gretzky just walked into my life, and what a treat that is. I mean, he really is one of the most talented people I've ever worked with. I mean, he's a true artist. He does what he does, and it's always up here, It's just, he just shits greatness, and I keep people keep asking me about about it, and I hope he doesn't think I'm talking about it too much, because everyone wants to know, well, how did that happen, And he's just a great guy. He really helped me out. He lives 5 minutes down the street from me, and
that's incredible. So you've done so many great things in your career, and one of the things that I like the most about what Jason Hook has contributed to the world was like turn the camera around and focus on all the great players that have been on stage with people for years in this amazing documentary called Hired Gun, which I was watching until about 5 minutes ago, rewatching. I saw it years ago, and that's how I knew who Nita Strauss is. Like that's how I really zeroed in on, oh wow, and have met Nita since. But I've known the name Jason Hook for years because of this documentary, and and was so happy. You became the guitar hero instead of playing with the guitar hero. And what I really liked about that is that you also shine the light on all these other people that your friends, and it's such a beautiful doc because you are all jamming together. And now I know so much about Billy Joel's fucking band. For my whole life I would not know, and I would not know the idea of what it was like, how they would fall out, because to us in the audience sometimes you're like, hey, look, a cool person.
What
But
a crazy story, though, eh?
yeah. But
What a
Alice
crazy
Cooper,
story.
you
Yeah.
said something before about noticing something and be like, oh, got to come back for him. The moment that Alice Cooper said, I was watching Hillary Duff play. I'm like, who's that guitar player? That really cool, talented guy. Jason Hook, write his name down.
Yeah.
And it goes to show that
Story.
every door that's opened is worth opening. Tell me about that movie, please, because I fucking love this documentary
I'm
so
very
much.
proud of it. I have a real lust for documentaries in general. I'll watch a documentary on anything, the anatomy of an oil rig, you know. As long as it's well done, you can there's something really compelling about peeling back the curtain and showing people the inner mechanics and the reality of things that normally you're not allowed to see. And the idea came, it was just me and another guy, and I'm like, if I kick down a little money, let's make something. And it just turned into this massive production with an agent and archive people, and just a massive production. But my only desire was to have it feel real and to have a lot of moments throughout the film that would touch the nerve,
Yeah.
and make people understand that what we're being shown isn't always necessarily the reality. So it's not unlike Behind the Music, right?
Right.
Where it's like, oh man, I didn't know all that was going on. But as I started to talk to some of these musicians, and most of them are my friends, everyone had one horrifying story,
Yeah.
at least one, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, well, this will be easy. All I have to do is cut everyone's horrible story together, and I got a movie.
It,
Yeah.
it, it's so true though. I mean, the hired gun, everybody knows that guy or that girl who is just a fucking phenomenal player, but is always landing up somewhere. And that's why Shannon was exactly like that. He was that guy.
Mhm.
And for him to fall into Godsmack and be like, all right, I'm here, and he's not going anywhere because they take good care of him. That's the other side of the coin. You've got these incredible players that just don't get taken care of, and the ones
Yeah.
that have the fucking sense to say, you know what, I'm not letting him go. And for damn well that Motley Crue is going to take fucking good care of John Five.
Oh
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because you got John
like
Five.
today's the day.
That's it. So when you have somebody,
I knew John was going to be in that band way before. I mean, I just watched. I know Nikki as well because we toured with 6 a.m. and
I
Nikki
love 6
loves
a.m.
guitar. He loves guitar players. He collects guitars. He loves guitars. He's really got a thing for guitar,
yeah,
And so I found that Nikki and I were having a lot of conversations backstage, and then all of a sudden we're sending texts and stuff. So really great dude, by the way. I mean,
oh yeah,
solid dude.
yeah. Again, he
Yeah.
again been on the show, so we know he's
Oh
just
yeah, yeah.
an
Like
awesome dude.
A-lister human being. And I just saw how I saw online that the relationship with John was so tight. He's so tight with John, and I'm thinking, yeah, I can see the writing on the wall. That's coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
John is perfect for that band. He is perfect for that band.
May I just say, as like a Motley Crue fan, I'm a big Rob Zombie, White Zombie fan. I'm a fan of a lot of things, but
Mhm.
every time I saw John and White Zombie, I saw an Olympic level gymnast who
Yeah,
was just standing on his hands and
yeah.
not doing the 50 backflips he was capable of on a nightly basis. Because I've seen his solo shows in which his arms grew out of his rib cage, and seven arms played a guitar at once, because that's the only way a human being could possibly play all these parts. And he did it effortlessly with a lot of makeup on. Then I see him in Motley Crue, and I'm like, finally he gets to actually stretch all these muscles that he's inherently had this entire time. So
Look, he's an exceptional musician.
Oh yeah,
exceptional.
yeah.
Exceptional.
His solo
And-
records, here he is with his makeup on, but it's country, it's jazz, it's all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's no limit. It's amazing. So,
I think he also he's schooled, right? So he also has all of the theory and all of the know-how from that world, right? But the thing I admire the most about John is that he has, and this is very difficult with guitar players, but he has an identifiable sound.
True.
As soon as I hear something, I'm like, that's John 5, because it's just weird and got all his style all over it, and nobody plays like that guy.
Well, and there are those players, and in metal too. There were, I think, pre computer days, there were a lot of guys that had that sound. You always knew when it was Dimebag playing. You always knew when it was Vinny.
Oh, you're right. Oh, I see where you're going with this. Okay.
Yeah, you always knew when Vinny was playing.
Right.
Like
Oh,
and Rex. So again, Vinny, I mean, you could hear the quarters clicking on the bass drum, like all that stuff.
yeah.
Van Halen. I mean, probably one of the most recognizable drum sounds.
Yeah.
I was when I was listening to this new record, I was listening to the record and I was going, fuck, he's got a sound too. And I think it's a combination of your sound and your playing, because the riffs you're playing, like again, going back to what we said at the beginning, they're very hooky, but even the chugging stuff is hooky. So I think now that we've chatted for almost a half an hour, I can understand, like, the curtain's been pulled back a bit, and I can get what you were going for. And it does come across, man. It comes across hands down, really like streamlined. I know what you're going for, and you've achieved it, because all the things that you're trying to, that you're drawing from, the influences, you can hear it. Like, you're doing that. That's the kind of band you want to do. And it feels like a band. It feels authentic. It feels acoustic. And it doesn't feel fake.
Music to my ears. I'm very flattered. I'm flattered, Black.
Okay, let's get to. I just got to ask you this really quickly. Flat Black. Is that what you guys drink?
You mean like a flat black coffee?
Yeah.
No.
So where did Flat Black come from?
Well, I had an iPhone note full of hundreds of potential band names, and most of them were wretched.
Give us a couple of the wretched ones.
Well, one of them was Wretched, spelled with a
W. No. I had there was one called Tools with Teeth or something. I fucking can't remember. There was one I had Day One for a long time. I was like, what about Day One? Like, it's a brand new thing, and then and it's like, but then what happens when you're 20 years into your career? Then Day One doesn't really apply. And then I had like Novel, which was a new beginning, but then people are going to think it's about a romance novel, and I just had a whole list of things that just weren't great. And for a long time, people were like, "You got to call it Hook, man. You got to call it Hook." I'm like, I really don't want to call it Hook. I think I said this earlier on, but it's about everybody, and it's not Jason and Friends. I hate that. It's like when Richie Blackmore left Deep Purple, he started Rainbow. He didn't start Richie Blackmore Band,
That's right.
And David Coverdale left Deep Purple and started Whitesnake. He didn't start David and Friends.
Yeah.
So I always thought, fuck that. It's not about me. I can't get it. This wouldn't happen without everyone involved. So it needs to be a band. And so I was driving past a private airport in Vegas here. I was going down the strip, and there was a private jet parked close to the fence, and as I was driving by, this thing looks so badass because the total jet, everything, engines, was all flat black.
Nice.
And it just looks so sinister and so sick that whoever owns that has balls, because they're making a statement. That's a statement plane. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, that's a statement plane.
I hope they have good lights, because wow, a black plane in the sky.
Well, it's like the stealth bomber, right? I mean, how sinister and sick does it look, all matte black, right? So I was driving home, and I was talking to my wife. I'm like, what about flat black? She's like, I think I like that. Kind of cool. Because black is sort of the color that is part of our community. We like heavy metal.
Yeah, of course.
black shirts, leather, metal. It's dark, it's masculine, it's the color of our genre, really.
Right.
So I thought, okay, well, that will fit Black Sabbath, and it's just
Yeah.
it's but flat black seems to be like when people want to push it that extra level of sick. And people go, dude, I totally murdered out my bike. It's flat black. Everything's flat black. The fucking lights are black. You know, so I started circulating that, and everyone was like, that's pretty cool. And then by luck, it's easy to spell, easy to pronounce, easy to remember, easy, so it has all those things where, you don't want it to be too complicated or have a funky spelling or hard to remember, hard to understand. It doesn't need to be explained,
Yeah. No. It makes sense. And like I'm a big Mad Max fan, so anything flat black to me is
Right.
like
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of sick. So I got lucky.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you that it came instantly, but it was a last minute save.
On the show, sometimes we talk about people like what they're fans of. You clearly are a fan of music, a lifelong fan of music. I have always loved music, but have been falling in love with music again through the glorious sound of vinyl recently. And
Oh, great.
I would like to know, and I have Richie Blackmore's Rainbow's first album, but I would like to know if you have a top five for someone who's just getting back into vinyl. What's a record on vinyl that's just like it's never sounded better than it's been on wax? Do you got any of those?
Well, I think it's an amazing question, and of course, I have answers. But I some of my favorite early bands were Kiss, Deep Purple. I would definitely say Made in Japan. That was
yes.
a vinyl that I shredded to death. Rock and Roll Over, Destroyer. Just those records sort of remind me of when I hear that music, it reminds me of putting the record on the turntable,
Awesome.
So all Van Halen, early Van Halen records, stuff like that. I really miss the way it was, I know that it's gone forever, but the whole concept of having to go to the record store and get your record,
Yeah. And you see the people that like I've got, both my kids are, they flirted with vinyl for a while. They kind of got out of it, but they did love that ritual when they saw it. And I remember, putting on In Through the Outdoor, and I put my son in front of my stereo, and I gave him these big cans, and I'm like, just listen to this fucking record, listen to Carousel Alhambra.
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh my God. He goes, and this song's going on and on. I go, yeah, it's like every good thing about Led Zeppelin is in Carousel Alhambra. Like, just listen to the fucking song. And he was just blown away. And then when he took it off, I looked at him and I go, one day you're going to do that, and you're probably going to smoke a joint, and it's going to be that much better. and I don't, I don't do any of that anymore. But he was just like, I don't think I'm going to even need that with that. So there is something magic about vinyl. And it's been fun to see Ryan get into it, because I'm just like inundated with vinyl here. I got so much.
Well, can we talk about the flat black vinyl that's coming?
Les, please tell us about it. Tell us when it's available. Is it gonna drop for release day, or were you guys able to coordinate it? Because I know that can be a fucking pain in the ass.
I'm learning it all for the very first time. I can't say that I fully understand how it works these days, but apparently we have several versions of the vinyl.
Okay.
And it won't ship and hit the streets until October.
Yeah, that's par for the course these days.
Yeah, I know. That's the way it works. I'm like, I don't understand. So if people want the record, they have to wait for it.
Yeah.
But look, I accept things are very different now. And I think it'll go out on every digital platform on July 19th. And then hopefully when maybe it starts to circulate and people get more excited about it, then that will maybe increase interest in the vinyl. I'll tell you something we did with the vinyl. It's a double vinyl.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
And they were like, listen, you've got too much music for a single vinyl. So it has to be a double vinyl, but you don't have enough music to really make it 4 full sides.
Right.
So each side's going to have 3 songs or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's hurting, you know what I mean? Like, they have 3 songs on, like that just looks lame. So I said, listen, I recorded all the shows that we did last year. Let me go through them all, and I'll mix up a live album. So the vinyl has side 4 live from Edmonton.
From Edmonton, nice. So giving us some Canadian love, nice.
Yeah, Well, it really has more to do with it. By the time that we were in Canada, all the sort of kinks would have worked out. We're playing better.
So you had to do it in front of the Edmonton
Yeah.
crowd. That's okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay. Well, listen, if you watched any of the Stanley Cup Finals, the Edmonton crowd's fucking next level. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Canada. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know you're Canadian. I had no idea.
Born and raised in Toronto, so there seemed to be just a little bit more turnout and excitement when we went across Canada with the
Oh,
Smacks.
nice. Okay, so then you get it. I mean, so then you also get the irony of someone having a live record from fucking Edmonton. That alone is a selling point.
I know, but I love the fact that the physical stuff, and I want to say the CD might have the live as well. So
Right.
I said, look, there's no I mean, nobody buys records anymore. I get it. I understand. It's just not the way it is anymore. But let's put something on the physical that you can't get on.
Sure.
the
Yeah.
digital. So
Yeah,
that
man.
for people that want, it's just another reason to maybe go get it.
Dude, thanks so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to connect. The album drops July 19th. You'll be out on the road. What's the plan after Godsmack?
Well, we come home for a little break, and then they're booking up stuff that will take us through July and August. And then we start up with Godsmack again in September and go through October all the way to November. I'm sure we'll jump. Oh, yeah, I already know. I can't say, but there's something happening after Godsmack that will take us to Christmas.
Okay.
Then we're looking at going to Europe early next year. It really just, we haven't been able to play that much because we have no record, and people are always like, well, they have no record, what are they going to play? And so it's been difficult. We've been waiting to have the record so that we can, do proper touring, but it's all coming.
And cash in all the chips now, man. And that's the best part. This is going to be the best part. This is all going to be the dessert.
I can't wait. This record was done in January of 23. So
fuck.
I've been sitting on this music that long. So just to have it released is like, oh my God, it's incredible.
Well, I think people are really going to like it. And I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today, man. Please keep us posted on what's going on. Come back to the show again. And I hope we get to see you in Montreal in the next year or so. I hope there's a date. And yeah, man, keep kicking ass, man. I now that I've chatted with you, I totally get this music so much more. So thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Well, it's been my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man, that was a hell of an interview. Jason, great guy. And once again, have known of Jason Hook, even of Nita Strauss, because of this documentary. Yeah. And the cool thing about this documentary, folks, if you haven't seen it, I believe you could watch it for free on, oh God, what was it called? Plex right now. Basically, throughout the interviews, they will intercut it with all these different session musicians jamming together. So John Cougar Mellencamp's drummer's in there, and they even talk about like the intro to that famous song. He had about 5 seconds to think of something. He's like, well, this is going to make my career. If I don't think of something, they're like, oh, do a drum solo or a drum intro. And he does it, and magic happens. You have the talkings about with Billy Joel's band, how they had a falling out, the reaction to it.
Billy Joel's drummer and him, like they just had they not.
He's the drummer is but the drummer's like the he's the MVP of the entire documentary. It's crazy. Anyway, so anyway, getting back to Jason Hook, he starts out playing with like, he looks like a really cool rock star guy playing with like Hilary Duff and other pop acts, and it's just interesting. Like I said in the interview, it just goes to show that every door you open, like it counts, it matters. You never know who is watching you. So every show you do, every gig you do, always be on, because you never know if someone's going to be watching you in a good light or a bad light. And in this case, Alice Cooper was watching and said, "Who's the guy with Hilary Duff? That guy's awesome. Write his name down."
Yep,
incredible.
I'm telling you, man. So the new album is called Dark Side of the Brain. It's streaming now everywhere. So let me correct on that. I think what we were talking about when I was saying new record was coming out, it's actually the vinyl that was still on pre-order. And I believe the vinyl is going to be coming out very, very soon. Let's see. The pre-order on the vinyl, it's going to be shipping, according to this, is going to be coming before the end of 2024. So you should be getting that. Let's see. Yeah. October 25th, you should be getting the vinyl for Flat Black. And the band will be hitting the road. They're going to be out on the road in the fall all over the U.S. So make sure you go check out the band live. From everybody's accounts that have seen them live, it is a great show. So don't miss that. If you are seeing Flat Black in your city, make sure you go check them out. Thanks to my co-host Ryan Stick. Thank you to our producer Julia Kajerski. And thank you to Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. Use our promo code Rockman20 and get 20% off your order every time you use that code. It does not expire. Thank you to Studio House Designs. And thank you to Audio Technica Canada, our friend Mike Marino and the whole gang over at Audio Technica.
During the interview, I didn't have my Audio Technica mic on. And as I'm sure you all noticed, that you know, you're like, what the fuck are you doing to my ears, Ryan? How dare you? And now I have my Audio Technica mic, and you're probably thinking to yourselves, damn, I want to listen to this guy all day. So Audio Technica, it's a good way to go.
It's a difference when you have a good mic and you have a shitty mic. And we don't have shitty mics. We have Audio Technics. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week on the Rockman Power Hour. Hey, thanks so much for watching the podcast. We really appreciate your support. And if you're enjoying the podcast, click this link right over here to watch the next episode, and click right over here and subscribe. And that way you won't miss anything.